I help you today?
She's not been well, really. In the morning, she's finding it hard to get up and get ready.
Is that correct, Mrs. Collins? How are you feeling?
She's not been eating either. I've been trying to get her to have a yogurt or something, but she's...
Okay, if you can just let your mum answer.
But she's not well.
Yeah, I know, but I'd just like to have a quick chat with your mum about it. I think it might be better if you just wait outside while I have a little chat with your mum.
But she doesn't understand. She'll forget.
No, that's fine. I'll explain all about the medication and she can tell you all about it later on.
I need to know what's going on.
Well, confidentiality, patient confidentiality. I would like to have a word with your mum if you'd just like to wait outside for me. Thank you. Mrs. Collins, now the help...
First thing I think of when I hear the word young carer is probably somebody who I'm not always that aware of, to be honest with you, because I can't, if I'm thinking back on my practice, I don't often see young people coming through the door with the label young carer on them.
A young carer for me is somebody who's under the age of 18 who would be looking after an adult who had some specific needs that they couldn't look after themselves.
We recognise the psychological and emotional support that young carers give to the person they're caring for, as well as practical sort of physical support.
I went to the doctor's near school. I went to the reception and asked if I could see a doctor and was told to come back at 5 p.m. with my parents. When I came back they were closed. It made me think they did it on purpose so I didn't come back because I was just a kid. My parents weren't well enough to take me that day.
I will always see people on their own I think sometimes it's difficult to get that message across to receptionists and other members of staff because they're the people who make the appointments and what have you, and they'll often say to people, well, you must bring your parent with you if you're under 15 or whatever it is. I have had situations in the past where that's happened where the child has wanted to see us on their own for a good reason and they've been put off, and I try to make my staff know that they shouldn't do that. I try not to put a barrier between a child seeing me on their own if they want to do that.
I would always advise a relative, let alone a young carer, to have another member of the family with them if we were giving them information, so that two people get the information, because people interpret information differently. So I would be very cautious with a young carer, and I would certainly want an adult with them so that they could help with the interpretation of the information that we're giving.
I think it can be quite difficult as well for us because although sometimes we might think that actually one of the patients on the ward does have a young carer and speak to the patient and the patient will say actually no, they're not a young carer, I do everything. When they're saying actually they're not a young carer can also be quite difficult. And I think certainly at my level as a ward manager, most of the visits will take place here in the family room. I won't always get to meet the young carer.
Things like meetings at school about my brother. I am told to wait outside and we don't get told any of it. They don't include us in the meetings because I want to know what's going on for my brother's girl.
I was in the car with my granddad and my brother. My granddad was driving and he got a pain in his chest. My little brother was 8 at the time and I was 15. When we got back to the flat, he didn't feel well, so we sat him in the living room while I went and sorted my little brother out. When I came back, he was on the floor, so I rang my sister and we got an ambulance. I looked after my granddad until the others arrived. When the ambulance got there, they told me to go outside with my little brother. But I was there when it happened and I'm the one who looks after him, so I need to know what's going on, but they wouldn't tell me. At hospital, they put him on a no children's ward, so I couldn't see him. I am expected to act like an adult because I am a carer, but then I'm treated like a child. They lie to protect you, but it makes you worry more.
I think it's important that we're honest with young carers in what we've got to say. I don't think it helps anybody if people aren't truthful and honest about things. And if you've any questions, I think it's important that we answer them.
I came from school, I'd done everything, and my dad said that my dad's partner wasn't well, so I went across the precinct to do something, and when I came back he had fell and he was talking like humming. And because we've got a system that instead of calling 999 it goes straight to the carers and the hospital, and they sent an ambulance. And I said to them, "What do you want me to do?" And they asked, "What do you normally do?" And then I said, "I normally give him an injection." And they said, "No, you can't do that." So I ignored them and obviously gave him the injection because you want what's the best for who you care for. When the doctor got to us, they said, "You shouldn't really be doing that. You are not old enough." I was quite upset, yes, frustrated.
Some professionals are probably not that confident in dealing with young carers, and they're that uncertain about young carers. What can I tell them? How much can I involve them? That actually they probably end up excluding the young carers.
I'm sure there are lots of people doing the work that you do and the caring that you do, and I've never thought of that, to be honest with you, to actually involve them in it, because I've never been in a situation where that's been an issue. Now that's probably something that we should think about. Obviously, first of all, we need to be aware that there's a young carer involved in the care of that person, and I don't think we're as good as we could be at that. And I think certainly I would involve an adult carer in the care of somebody that we're looking after. So I don't see any reason why I wouldn't involve the child. I'll be honest with you, it's not something that I've done up to now, but as a matter of principle, I think that's certainly something, because I do it with adults, there's no reason why I wouldn't do it with children.
I went once to a GP because I felt really down and couldn't sleep because of caring. He told me, "No, it's just your hormones kicking in because you are only a teenager." I asked for some stress tablets or at least some sleeping tablets to help me sleep at night. I thought because he thinks I'm only a 15-year-old, he told me he could give me some counsellor, but he wasn't helping me or listening to what I was asking for. He was aware of my caring role and still didn't listen to me, saying it was normal teenage hormones. It made me feel unimportant, but if my mum and dad went in and saw him, he would do something about it because they are adults. But at the end of the day, no matter how old we are, we all have to act more mature so people know that they can rely on us. The doctor needs to realise I'm not just a typical 15-year-old girl. I am a 15-year-old girl who has a bit more responsibility than what he thinks. My mum had come back from dialysis and wasn't feeling good. Her blood pressure had dropped and wasn't breathing. My dad said wait outside for the ambulance. I felt like on the way to the hospital, the ambulance people didn't want me to stay in the ambulance because they thought I was too young. When my mum stayed in hospital, they wouldn't let me go in and see her, so my dad took me home.
My brother got taken out of mainstream school to a special school because the teachers couldn't handle him. I don't know what's wrong with my brother, people haven't really explained it to me, but I know that he has an extra chromosome or something and he has a mental age of a 3-year-old. I put him to bed. He won't go sleep for anyone else. I get him dressed in the morning, he listens to me. We get on very well. Sometimes I have to bath him and shower him, and then I get him ready for bed and up and ready for school. I used to take him to school. I'm 15 years old and I've been doing this since I was 7.
I think it's about finding that balance between protecting the young person from the difficult things that are going on with the parent or whatever.
And giving the right amount of information in an easy to understand form, because sometimes it can be a bit jargonistic.
Instead of trying to talk to my mum's doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals, I would try and talk to them as my own doctor. So I booked myself a doctor's appointment and said that I wanted to talk to them about my mental health because I was struggling at home to be primary carer for my mum. And unfortunately the doctor said that there wasn't really anything they could do, and there wasn't any support services to signpost me onto that they were aware of in the area that I lived. And the only thing they could suggest was that I got in touch with the Samaritans or Alcoholics Anonymous and see if they provided a service for the family of alcoholics, which I did. And then the Samaritans sent me a lovely email saying as much as they were sorry to hear about the situation, there wasn't any kind of specific support they had for children under the age of 18, but that they could be on the other end of the phone if you ever wanted to talk, but there wasn't any tangible support that they could offer. Like with Alcoholics Anonymous, my mum refused to attend, so without my mum attending there was nothing they could do.
When a patient comes into our service, an inpatient service, often they're in crisis. So hence, that would be a really stressful time for all people involved, and that would probably mean that, the young carers are then themselves in crisis just because of everything that's happened. Where do you get support? Who's there and who helps and supports you? Are you taken seriously when you contact services?
Our staff have contact numbers that they can contact services to help with carers. It's part of the safeguarding training that we offer. So all staff on the wards have packs with that information in, so if they need to relate to find out some carers' information, then they would go to the folders.
Females, patients that we have coming onto this unit, are quite reluctant, I guess, to identify any of their children as young carers, maybe because they don't want social service involved, the repercussions of that. And actually, it's difficult for us really to establish who is a young carer and who isn't a young carer. So I think it's about, educating the staff, educating the patients, educating service users and educating yourself, and everybody just, trying to be as open and honest as we possibly can and moving forward with it, because it is a very grey area for a lot of people.
If I were a health professional, I would comfort the person and tell them what's going on. Like, not just say everything's going to be fine, it's okay, but actually tell them what's going on.
They could make things easier to understand when they tell us, like, for example, this machine is detecting the heartbeat or the blood pressure, to keep it simple. They probably assume that we don't understand if they do explain it to us. If I were a health professional, I would talk to the adult, but not just ask them, but ask the carer, how are you feeling? Do you get any help? Acknowledge them.
We want you to understand that young people can take responsibility and be carers.
We want you to acknowledge that young carers, especially lone carers, have a very important role.
We need you to listen to young people and involve them in care plans.
We need you to explain what's wrong and what we should do.
We want you to know about carers support services in your area.
We want you to refer young people you think are carers for support.
We need you to care for us as well.
Would like myself or...
Yeah, I don't mind getting involved.
I thought you were crying then.
Did you? Yeah. To be perfectly honest with you, I am really moved to see you. No, seriously, it's what's happening with